To bring in jury consultant Alan Tuerkheimer right now. Alan, thanks so much for joining us. How do you think the jury so far is responding to all this testimony?
I think it's so far, so early on, favorable for the prosecution. Now, they're painting a picture. They're painting a broad picture, and they're giving jurors details that they're going to use down the road. So my guess is if you ask the jurors, of course this couldn't happen, but hypothetically, which side are you favoring? Or do you think that there's some wrongdoing? I think most jurors would say, yeah, I kind of lean in favor of the prosecution at this point, and there was probably some wrongdoing. But there's so much left. When I talk to jurors after they've served on cases, it's very rare when they say that something clicked with them and they made up their mind, or something really significant happened in their outlook of the case just during the direct testimony of the first witness. So I think it's going well for the prosecution, but that can change quickly.
Well, do you think the prosecution is doing an effective job at proving its basic allegation that this so-called catch-and-kill scheme wasn't just unsavory or sleazy, but it was illegal election interference? This is the novel legal argument. Do you think it's been laid out well enough, at least so far, for the jury?
I'm not so sure it has, and the prosecution has to enable jurors and empower them to connect the dots, because at the end of the day, these jurors who went through this whole process of indicating they can be fair and impartial and keep an open mind, they're going to have to say, and they can compartmentalize, they can say, well, I don't really think this was a nice thing that happened, and there were a lot of sleazy things that went on or underhanded things, but at the end of the day, I still don't see the prosecution proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. So I definitely think that the prosecution has to start speaking the language of the law and try to propel the jurors to decide that there was, in fact, election interference.
Keywords, beyond a reasonable doubt, so critically important. Pecker testified, as you know, that Trump knew about the contract with McDougal. Will the defense be able to convince the jury that Trump was unaware of the Stormy Daniels hush money payments with testimony like this?
It's what they're going to have to try to do, and it's a tough sell that the person all the way at the top was unaware of things. Jurors often hold the person who's in charge accountable, and that often doesn't fly, but they're going to do their best, and the cross-examination is going to present Pecker in a very different light, and jurors might come away with his testimony and others where there's just so much doubt swirling around, and there's all this information that they don't really take to mean that there was awareness on the part of the president. So I think they have a good chance, and that's certainly what they're going to try to do with the cross-examination of these witnesses, and then during their own case, and ultimately maybe if Trump takes a stand himself.
Interesting. We're told by our colleagues who are inside the courtroom that Trump has been sitting in court, leaning back, closing his eyes, occasionally whispering and passing notes to his lawyer. At one point, he cracked a smile when Pecker described being introduced by Trump to some of his campaign staff as someone who, quote, probably knows more than anybody else in this room. So how do you think Trump's coming off to the jury? The former president, how is he coming off to the jury?
I think the former president's coming off pretty well, but maybe by Trump standards. He seems to be pretty composed. The occasional smile and the note-taking and leaning over is fine. I think jurors appreciate that. But the dozing off or eye shutting, whatever happened there, I would probably try to limit that if I was the defense. But overall, it sounds like he's seeming like he's respecting the process and not rubbing jurors the wrong way. But it's early on. That can change, or if it continues, then props to Donald Trump.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Alan, thank you so much. Alan Tuerkheimer, jury consultant, thank you.